Good morning. My power back. Here's the plan. In the house, downstairs, removing the last few braces and then clean up. Upstairs, clean up. And that's about it for the house. Swimming pool, more digging of trenches for the base rebar tie beams. On the walls, they will be extending along the west wall, starting to put wall in there, and pouring the last little bit of top tie beam on the north wall. What could possibly go wrong? We'll start here at the house, where right in front of us you can probably make out there are still support braces in place. These will be coming out, and there's a couple more just behind the motorcycle ramp where the entrance is. They'll be coming out as well, and then basically it's clean up inside here. I think they will try and remove as much of this stuff as they can, and that'll be it for the house, apart from upstairs. Similarly, a bit of clean up. I think all of the braces are out, all of those runner beams were taken out. They're not putting the braces back in. The swimming pool, the wet feet brigade are going to get their feet wet today. They have moved down clearly towards the deeper end where there is still standing water. The pump is running. It does seem to be a little less water than there was yesterday. I don't know if that was just the effect of the pump running for longer, but they have had some success in removing that standing water. We'll see how they get on today with continued digging and then probably more of the trenches for the rebar, the base beams. Back on the north wall, concrete mix has been moved into place. Concrete mixer is mixing, and they are starting to pour that top tie beam right over in the far corner. Probably slightly out of view. We'll go around over there and have a look. So, concrete going in. The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 sections. Concrete going into that top tie beam. Now, this is where I think something has gone slightly wrong. Stephen P in the comments, actually a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Stephen, said, how high is this wall? And as on the opposite wall, this is the area where the land has risen the most. And we're not at 2.5 metres on either side of the wall. I did a very, very rough and ready measurement this morning, and the ground on the opposite side is extremely uneven. But I reckon we're around about 2 metres or maybe just over 2 metres on the opposite side of the wall for quite large areas of this. So, mentioned it to the engineer this morning. We'll see if there's anything else that is to be done with this wall. I have asked them to make sure that at the back, Manny's just emerged from the opposite side along with the engineer, so clearly they're doing their own checking. But I have asked them to make sure that that back wall, the west wall, is kept up to height. And again, there is quite a dip on the opposite side right now, so that helps. But they do need to keep close to 2.5 metres all the way around. With most of the wall crew working on finishing off that north wall, we only have 2 guys. One here, and Lito over in the corner, working on carrying on the trench ahead of the wall build here. So I am sure this will get more guys on the team a little bit later when they finish that concrete pour. So this is going to be slightly slower this morning than it was yesterday, but then the progress yesterday was really pretty good. There are times when I think maybe I should actually look at stuff rather than just switching the camera on and start blathering. So upstairs, right in front of us, there is still a support brace in the middle of this particular beam. There is another one on that beam. Behind it to the left, there's another one. And in fact, there are still several. In general, there is one per beam, roughly in the center of the span. There are actually a couple of extra ones, but they do still have braces upstairs, which is good to hear because I think it's 21 days since those final roof beams were poured. So, next time I will try and use my eyes a little more. Downstairs, there's been several minutes of looking and pondering and measuring and tapping, and I have absolutely no idea what that's all about. All will become clear at some point. Like on the pool, not a lot more digging going on, but pipes going in. While we're here, in the comments last night there was a question, an excellent question from LC Gilbert, saying what size rebar are being used in these tie beams. LC and everybody else, the answer is 12mm. Good question, keep them coming. It's early afternoon and the tidy up inside the house appears to have stopped. And I think they told me some porky pies about just tidy up and no walls until the new year. We have the beginnings of walls. Yes, it has begun. And the first room they're doing is what will ultimately be a home theatre room. So this is kind of the easy one in the sense that there are no windows. There will obviously be doors, and there'll be two of them, but walls have commenced. Not what I was told was the plan. I think they do this on purpose sometimes. They tell me, no, nothing new, just to catch me out and make me a happy bunny. And it does make me a happy bunny. Not a lot of them working in here, but as Ronwell just said, we've got two new masons on site, by which he means Manny the lead foreman and Raphael the engineer, learning yet another trade, a multi-skilled engineer. Well, here at the pool, the wet feet brigade, working in the deep end, getting wet feet. And again, no shoes. I do find it remarkable that using a shovel with no shoes must hurt, mustn't it? Anyway, yeah, a little more of the water is out. Not sure how much the pump has been running, but they're definitely going to get wet feet today. They have got the first tubing, the blue tubing is in place. So looking back along what will become the west wall. Not entirely straight. I imagine the wall will end up being straight. And Jack put a comment in yesterday about this and did notice that the footings are not necessarily in the middle of the trench. In a number of cases, they've kind of dug out on one side of the trench, so the columns will be off-centre from the tie beam. And it is so that they can maximise the land area without giving up any of the land area. I don't know how much stability they'll give up by doing that. The engineer said this is pretty normal practice here, at least. But any other thoughts on this, on how much you give up? Let me know. Earlier on, I was trying to figure out what these cut down forms with markings were for. Well, it's quite simple really. They're to mark out the height of each of the concrete hollow blocks. Make sure we are at the right height with the right amount of mortar. And you can't turn your back on this for a second, because in about an hour they've got all of this done, and 3 sides. There's some pretty solid progress on these walls. This is going like a train at this point. And here's just a couple of examples, one here and one over here, of cutting out the concrete hollow block around the various bits of conduit which are all over the place. And in fact, this room, at the far side of this room, will be where a lot of the electrical, all of the electrical for the house, will come over to junction boxes over there, and basically we'll have control from over there. So it's a lot of pipe to go around. It is the end of the day, and here we are on the north wall, right up at the corner. Fairly early on today, they finished the top tie beam. So that's it, potentially. The north wall done, unless they're going to do anything to bring this up a little higher. We will see what the builder comes up with. And starting at the north corner, going along the west wall, we have columns, footings, tie beams, gravel, concrete, going about another 10 meters that way. We will have a look down at the other end and see what else was done. Well, I have almost completely cleared the path for the wall. I think this big boy here has to come out, the shorter one on the center of the picture. But going back this way, I suspect they may leave these other ones in. The only question is whether they will remove these banana plants on the right to make building the wall easier. We will have to watch this space. Here at the pool, they kept on digging. Down at the deep end, they were digging out quite a lot more soil. Hard graft in muddy conditions, entirely by hand now. So it is going to take a little bit longer to get them down to where they need to be with the depth. And then they will presumably carry on with the tie beams. But here's the new bit. The bit that I was told wouldn't be until the new year. Looks a bit cruddy at the moment, all the gaps for the conduit. But they have started and done quite a bit here in the home theatre room. 3 walls, in fact kind of 4 walls, because right over there in the right hand corner they've got a couple of levels up. So they have made a very solid start on this room. Now I don't know how rapidly they're thinking of progressing this. It may be that we have to put the brakes on a little tiny bit, because we want to make sure that we're happy with the renderings for the rooms, to make sure that we're happy with, particularly with things like window sizes and placement. When you see it on a blueprint, it's one thing, but actually seeing a rendering will give us a much better idea of whether it is what we really want. So we haven't had those renderings for some of the rooms yet, for most of them actually. As I said earlier, here in the theatre room, doesn't matter, no windows. But in the other rooms, not sure if we're quite ready to put all the walls in just yet. We'll see what the builder comes up with over the next few days, and see if that does slow us down a little tiny bit between now and New Year. Mind you, there's only a couple of days to go, so it shouldn't slow us down too much. But that's it. Day is done, day 94, the day when walls that were not supposed to be built got built. What could be new tomorrow? See you then.